So this is what I spent, $10.44 at a Goodwill near where I live. It's actually not a normal Goodwill thrift store. It's actually a Goodwill Bookstore. I've only been to this place a couple times, and I'm kind of stuck on getting my battery changed. And this just happens to be down the street, and it's Labor Day, so almost everything's closed anyway. But this is open, so let's see. Which is the only one I've ever seen. I'm sure there must be others. I can't believe it's the only one. It's the only one I know of. So maybe you guys have seen others as well. And it's basically like 99% books. And they have a small CD section. They have a good amount of DVDs. So maybe like 95% books. They have some random stuff. Like they have one rack of like kids' Halloween costumes. Stuff like that, a few pieces of furniture, and I mean like 5 or less. So it's largely books, and they have them pretty well organized by genre, you know, the kids' books and fiction for adults and textbooks, history, etc., sports cookbooks, all that different stuff. So I've been in there in the past, but that was probably over 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm to the point now where I can actually go into a Goodwill, including this place, and actually still find some stuff. Between there being some decent books and having other stuff to look at. They also had records. I didn't have a chance to look at those. I did look at the CDs though. I don't have them with me, but I'll show them to you. I don't know if they had VHS tapes. They probably do. I didn't notice. And basically between all the different types of media, I can find enough stuff. So let me show you some of the books I found. Again, these 4 here are not big money. This one is selling for decent money. It's more of a school book. It's selling a lot of copies now, so it'll probably go down a little bit in terms of the rate it's selling at. There's this one, The Wisdom of Whores. So that stood out to me. Again, some of these are only, you know, $3 to $5 profit. And there's this one here, NAFTA. There's this one, The Ideal Driven Organization. Most of these were, so it was yellow tag special or whatever, 50% off. So this was $1.50, and this was $1. This was $2, and the other one was $2. And then this was the a really good one I found. It's a slower seller, but it sells for, I think it was over $20, 25, something like that. I can't remember exactly. It was $2. Oh, and there's even photos. Okay. It is hot here. It is really hot. So yeah, there's some photos in here too. I don't know if that's... And then I found this one called Infinite Riches Through Cassandra's Secret. And it is a bizarre book, apparently about how to find fabulous riches. Your journey to fabulous riches starts here. So this is one of those books, when I saw it, I knew it was an oddball, kind of far off, kooky, weird, strange book that is read by a very, very small amount of people, and that it was likely that it was, you know, independently published, and where very few copies were made. It says first printing was 1993, and it actually has an ISBN, but it doesn't pop up when I typed it in on Amazon. So I looked it up by searching the title, and it did come up. It has a 5 million rank, and there are, I believe, 5 copies, and they're all for, I believe the lowest copy is for around $500 or just under $500, all merchant fulfilled. And all of them, all of the bottom, I think 3 offers are all big sellers, you know, what we might call mega sellers. A few of them have a couple 100,000 feedback ratings. So these are big sellers. So sometimes that's often an indicator that it's a book that is selling, that the prices are a little bit too high. So when you look at Keepa though, it looks like it has sold for around $150+. So although it hasn't sold in the last year, but again, this is a book that I got for $1.99, and there's no copies on eBay. So I figure, I'm not sure if I'll do merchant fulfilled or FBA, but I will probably do a little more research on Keepa and to find out what it's been selling for even over the past couple of years, and then I'll decide whether I'll put it on eBay or Amazon, more likely Amazon. Even if I can get $100 to $150 for it, would be awesome. Chances are those other big sellers are going to drop their prices, whether I do FBA or merchant fulfilled, to match my price or undercut it. But we'll see if I can grab a sale from it. So these are the kind of weird books that pop out that there's probably not very many copies, not a big following, but there is a big enough demand and a small enough supply that the prices can tend to be pretty up there. So be on the lookout for these strange ones, and you find them all over the place. Whether it's at a thrift store or a book sale or estate sale, whatnot, keep your eyes open for that type of stuff. Again, I found these books, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these 6 books that were just about $10 at a Goodwill Bookstore. But whether it's a standalone, Goodwill Bookstore, whether it's a Goodwill thrift store that has a lot of books, I found lately that if I spend the time to go through their books, that I actually do find some stuff that is worth purchasing for flipping or reselling on Amazon. Occasionally I'll find stuff for eBay, but it's mostly for Amazon. I'll keep my eyes open for that type of stuff as well. In the past, I was one of the people that was always saying Goodwill's a waste of time when it comes to books, and largely it is. What I mean is not waste of time, but a smaller percentage of books I find at Goodwill's versus other smaller thrift stores that aren't a chain, or they're just a standalone thrift store, mom and pop, or maybe they have 1 or 2 or 3 and that's it, different locations, is that Goodwill, the percentage of books that they have that are worth reselling on Amazon is smaller than at a lot of those other thrift stores. Again, it depends on the thrift store. There's thrift stores for sure. I'm saying in my experience, of course, wherever you live, you might have a different experience. Maybe some of your local thrift stores also resell online, but I find that the smaller ones tend to not even, even if they know about it, they're not gonna, they're not doing it. They're not trying to sell online. They're just throwing them out there on their shelves for cheap. But Goodwill, as as a reseller, Amazon, FBA or merchant filled reseller, there's a lot of different Goodwill accounts on there that have anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of feedback ratings and sell thousands of books a day across all of their accounts. Tens of thousands, I'm sure, probably even more. A lot of the Goodwills will either send what they get into like a main hub or whatever, like a regional hub, and then they'll scan the books and then kind of send them out. Or sometimes even the individual stores, as they get donations, will scan them and see if they're worth reselling online. But whether they scan them or not, they'll either maybe they're not scanning them, they're just putting them out on the shelf, or they're just missing some, or their standards are different, whatever it may be. That I still find stuff though that's worth reselling. I went to a Goodwill a little while back and found probably close to 20 books. And the great thing is at Goodwill's I always find CDs to resell. Anywhere I go with their CDs, I always find good ones to resell. So I can combine now at Goodwill finding some books, not always 20, but even if I find 5 to 10, as long as it's, I'm pretty efficient about it. And then CDs, I always find some CDs. And then now I've started looking at vinyl again, and I take a quick look at VHS if there's any in there. There's rarely ever video games that are worth looking at. They're usually the sports ones. But if I see any video games catch my eye, then I'll look those up as well. But it's mostly books, CDs, vinyl, and some VHS tapes. Again, hardly any VHS tapes I'm finding, but I find the occasional one that's worth sending in for FBA, and sometimes I'll merchant fulfill them as well. Depends on which one it is. The point is, I wouldn't give up on Goodwills. Maybe the ones in your area are much more strict about what they put out, and they're gonna grab every single book that they can make a profit off of by selling online, and there's not much left. But if that's the case, you can always try to expand into CDs, and if you can't do that, then maybe VHS tapes a little bit, DVDs, video games, vinyl records, and also use eBay as an option as well if you're gated on certain stuff on Amazon. So all these 6 books that I found, I only looked through probably a quarter to a third of all of their nonfiction books. So I still had a ton to look through. The reason I was even there was because I was getting my battery changed in my car, and it was going to take a little while, so it happened to be right by, and I just walked to it, and then I had to go back, and it was a whole, little obnoxious deal, but I was able to spend a little bit of time there, and I also found some good CDs. So let me show you the CDs right now. Boom. Here are the CDs I found at the Goodwill Bookstore. I found 12 of them. They didn't have that many CDs, probably between 150, 200, probably less than 200. And I scanned all of them, and this is what I found. So it was a pretty good haul. I've stacked them here based on potential profit. They were all, except for two, $1.99 each. There was one that was half off the $1.99, so it was $1. And there's another one that I spent $4 on, but I'll make at least $4 profit.
Can we go thrift shopping?
What?
So these are all ones that I'll make roughly between $3 and $4. So this one here with the in the sleeve, and this one, these are all $3 to $4 profits. This one, this Chris Body, I guess, in Boston, this one was $3.99, but after cost of goods and all the other fees, I'll still make around $4. And here's these two as well. So these were all the bread and butter ones. If I find $3 to $5 are sort of bread and butter for me, those are ones that I sell all the time and I won't pass up. And I'm saying the profit is after the cost of goods. So if you add the cost of goods on top, a $3 profit, it's going to be $5 basically. And then this one here was the dollar one. This one is had no used FBA offers, but it had a new offer, FBA offer for $100, which is a bit much. But then the merchant fulfilled started at $10. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll price it at $12.99, $13.99. We'll see. I think it was selling about 16 sales in the last 6 months, I believe is what it was. And then these are the super duper winners. These are all $20, $21 and over CDs. Some of these are $29. A few are up to $40. Like these here are sealed, so I'll list them like new, and I believe even lowest merchant fulfilled offers were over $20. So these were great. Even $20 each on all 5 of them is $100, but it's probably going to be more like $120, $130, selling price for all of these. So these were more than worth the time and effort to find. This one has a broken. It's a double CD, but it's broken inside, so I'll have to replace that one. These were awesome finds. That's why I love CDs, because even though I might not find very many books at Goodwill, I'll still find some great CDs. So these were awesome. This one here, taking not a big risk. I mean, it's only $2, but there's only one offer, and it's merchant fulfilled, and it's like $91 or $94. I believe it's a big seller, a mega or a larger seller. And this, the rank on this was around 800,000. So it does not sell very often, but it's pretty rare. I looked it up on eBay. I don't believe I found any. If I did, I believe it was, I might be wrong there. I might have found one that was over $100. So I'll do a little more research on it and see if it should be on eBay or Amazon, and I'll list it, but I'll list it for some good money. And again, because it's a high rank on Amazon, it might take a while to sell, but then again, it might sell quickly on eBay because it's a little more of a collector's atmosphere, and I'll put stuff on there that won't sell as well, or doesn't sell that often on Amazon, but then it'll sell pretty quickly on eBay. So yeah, one of the pains about Goodwill are these stickers. Unfortunately, they're pretty sticky and they tend to leave residue. So that's a pain in the butt when it comes to Goodwill. But once you get these off, then it's all good. But even with Goo Gone, it just takes a little bit of time. But that's just part of the deal. So yeah, this was a good little haul here for CDs, and another reason or proof of why you should diversify within media if you can. And like I said, some of these higher price CDs, you might not be able to sell on Amazon if you're gated, but some of them still could be worth it on eBay, and this one definitely can be worth it on eBay. So always keep that as an option as well. So the moral of the story, or the point of this video overall, is to not always pass up Goodwills. In general, Goodwills for books and other media are not going to be as good as other thrift stores. However, I would still take a look at them unless you know definitively that they are scanning all the books or all the CDs or whatever it may be, all the media, and there's nothing ever there. But I would give them a look-see if you haven't been in there and you've just been taking advice of other resellers, either on YouTube or in Facebook groups, that type of thing. I'm not saying that I'm depending on Goodwill or that I'm only going to Goodwill or that they're even half of my thrift sourcing trips. Not even close. They're probably like less than 20%, maybe less than 15%, because there's so many of them in my area. There's at least like 5 or 6 that I can go to that are not very far, within a 10-mile radius. If I go out 15, 20 miles, well, I don't even go more than 10 miles usually, but if I go to 15 miles, there's probably, 8 or 10 of them. So there's a lot, and again, it depends on, some are better than others for CDs or for books or whatever. Some have more books, more CDs, and other types of media, but it's good to get to know your area and what's out there. So I would recommend not giving up on Goodwill, and let me know in the comments below what your luck has been with Goodwill. But lately I've just been noticing that it's not so bad. So a couple of tips are, if you're only doing books and you only want to do books, then these tips won't help you. But if you want to diversify a little bit and go beyond books, I would highly recommend, as a way in general, but also as a way to always find something worth reselling from Goodwill, is to go beyond books and into other types of media, whether they're CDs, vinyl records, video games, DVDs, and whoops, my hand's up down there, and VHS tapes. You can go into cassette tapes as well, but I don't usually look at those. So those are the 5: VHS tapes, vinyl records, CDs, DVDs, and video games. If you can start to learn what's worth looking up, what's worth money on Amazon and or on eBay, then it'll make those trips much more worth your time, because you don't want to go look through all the books, whether there's a small amount of books or a lot of books. Some of Goodwills have a ton of books, like a little library there, and you only come away with, let's say, less than 10 or even 12 or 15, and you want to get 20, 25, 30 items, then you're probably going to want to diversify into some other media. Now, it doesn't guarantee that you'll find a ton, but at least you'll find some more. And I often like, with CDs, I almost always find some higher price stuff, or at least, if not higher price, then I find some of that bread and butter $3 to $5 profit stuff that's usually going to sell relatively quickly. Some of it sells pretty quick. Some of it takes maybe a few weeks, few months. But regardless, all that stuff is worth it. If you're there, you might as well look it up. If you can't sell, if you're gated, if you can't sell CDs on Amazon, you're gated, and you're not sure how to get ungated, I don't have the answer to that. I know there's some receipts you need to turn in, companies you can go to, but eBay is always an option for CDs as well, and you can always do VHS tapes. You can do, I'm not sure if you can do vinyl on Amazon if you can't do it, if you can't sell CDs, because that's the music category, but you can definitely do vinyl on eBay, and that's what I've started doing. I've auctioned off a few vinyl pieces and sold a couple buy it now recently, so be on the lookout for that. Often in thrift stores, a lot of the vinyl is is really old and not, big band type stuff, that's just either in really bad shape or just not highly desirable. So you have to look through them and find the good stuff, like hard rock, classic rock, a lot of maybe 80s, 70s, 60s, not necessarily 60s, but a lot of some 80s and 70s stuff, and various rock, that type of thing, punk rock, rap even. So there's a lot of different types that you can find. So keep that in mind as an idea to diversify. Again, if you have no interest in diversifying beyond books, that's your prerogative. Stick to it, but you probably should, at least within books, look at all different types of books. Don't just look at nonfiction if you're doing Amazon. Look at some fiction, look at some kids' books, and also consider looking at certain books that would do well on eBay to diversify, maybe longer tail stuff, more collectible stuff, some vintage old books that are over 60, 70 years old. Some of that stuff can go well. Some Bibles can do really well. So there's a lot of different things you can diversify with eBay as well, just within books. So I was pleasantly surprised by this Goodwill Bookstore, and which I mentioned earlier, I didn't even go through a quarter or a third, if even a quarter, of all of their nonfiction books. I would say maybe a quarter of them, right? There was still a big wall of nonfiction. Of course, there's fiction as well, but most of that won't be good. But I'm sure if I go through all their nonfiction, the rest of the nonfiction that I didn't go through, I'm sure I would find at least another, on a really, really bad or low end, maybe 5 to 8, but on a decent, maybe 10, 12 or so more books. You never know. But for sure, I'd probably walk out of there with over 20 books, and I already got 12 books or 12 CDs, so that would be, 30 plus items. And I didn't look at the vinyl or video games or VHS tapes, which I didn't see. Maybe they didn't have them. Give Goodwill a chance. And if you already know it's no good in your area, then don't take this advice. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you have not already, and hit that little bell so you get notified. So remember, guys, keep booking, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next video.